Lads, lasses, and all of God's masses, welcome back. My legal name is C28, and today we of course had the second lecture of Fundamentals of Music Business. The title of today's lecture was Taxes and Budgeting, but I don't feel that was really the best name for it. It more so seemed like it was what business type is best for you, because we really dove deep into the different business types. That's what we did. So let's get started. Fair warning, sorry for jutting in, but I am an audio engineer. I am not a tax professional. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not your attorney. So do not take this as legal or business advice. This is simply information. The exact same sort of spiel was given in the beginning of the lecture, and it's good to do, because you don't want someone, making poor decisions and then be like, it's your fault. So it's not my fault if that happens. Anyway, let's continue. There'll be a fourth wall break about this later. So first off, we can break things into three different sections. We can break it off into your federal, state, and local requirements. So let's start with the federal. The federal is the highest level, of course, and at that level, you have a funky little number in the United States called the Social Security number. It's designed to not actually be an ID, but we started using it as that anyway. So now it's your ID, fun stuff, yeah. But you need a Social Security number to do business in the United States nationwide. There are a few loopholes, whatnot, but one of them we touched on, and I'm going to touch on it a lot later, but an FEI/EIN. Basically an identification number for your business. So you don't actually have to associate your bank accounts or anything else with you. We'll get into that a bit later. So federal level, you do have to have some sort of identifier to say, hey, I exist, I'm the one paying taxes. Whether that's you or the business is paying taxes, you have to set up something like that. And then at the state level, you have to register your business. So a lot of people like to register their state in Delaware because they don't have state taxes. And also, registration is super cheap, like $75. You don't need to register in the state you're living in. Now, there might be some other little tiny details, whatnot, that say something otherwise. But like I said in the beginning, that I'm going to actually shoot that section now and then put it in before, so this won't make sense. But anyway, like I said back... Fair warning, sorry for jutting in, but I am an audio engineer. It's important to not take all of this as legal advice. But anyway, yes, business registration, whether you're getting your corporation, you're doing a partnership, you're just doing business as name, you're doing a LLC, which is very common and I recommend for most types of things if you're a smaller business. You're going to need to register that with the state that you are wanting to register it with. So the one you want to use. It's funny to say because there's not like... Shop around. Look at the different states. Yeah. Then finally, at a local level, there are business tax receipts you need to get. Just if you have a actual location for your business, you just need to have this posted somewhere. And that's just at a local level. So I believe that's citywide or countywide. I forget exactly how it works, but the answer is there. But it's one of those, of course, and specifically the one that was there earlier. So first off, technically, you don't need to register as a business to do stuff. You're totally fine just being a freelancer or a independent contractor. But I highly recommend that you do become a business, not for the sake of seeming official, which is good, but for the sake of yourself and your assets. If you do not register yourself as a business, or you're just registering yourself as a sole proprietor or a partnership, and we'll get into those a bit later, your assets are at risk. If you're under fire for something, say you owe money. That's not the business's thing to deal with, and oh, whoopsie, let's just go abolish the business and now, whoops, bye-bye debt. No, also that's probably not how that totally works, but point is, if you don't have a different entity, as they're called, the different entities to take the burden of all the liability, that liability is on you, mate. So be very careful. Be careful nonetheless. But having a different entity set up to take this responsibility, this liability for you, is nice indeed. So let's get into the different business types again. So first off, technically not a business, but you will be registered and whatnot as a business. You have a sole proprietor. What that means is you yourself are a business, but that doesn't really have a whole lot of safety stuff with it. So that means that you own everything. You are responsible. You're liable for everything. And taxation is handled on your personal tax return. And management, of course, is all run by you. And because of that, you can actually get taxed quite a bit more. So it's maybe this is a situation where you just being a sole proprietor, that works well for you. But I don't really think that there are many situations for that. Next up, you have partnerships or general partnerships. There are different types of partnerships too. You have like limited partnerships and whatnot. But generally partnerships, it's the exact same thing as being a sole proprietor, except there are more. But here's the interesting thing, and why this is probably even worse than being a sole proprietor. Everyone's equally responsible and equally liable. Doesn't matter if you've even got a document set up, you're equally liable for everything. So if one person messes up, everyone's under fire. Not great. So the ownership is based on however many partners there are within this partnership. And you can have limited partnerships too, where you have your general partners that will actually run and own things. And then your limited partners, which are more like kind of shareholders, but not really. We'll get into that a bit later too with corporations. In a general partnership, where it is just two general partners, you don't have any limited partners. The two of them also manage it. So they have both shared responsibility. You can write up an agreement that says this person controls more than this person controls everything, and this person doesn't. But regardless, you both still have shared perfect 100% liability. Perfect's probably not the best word, but it's a bad situation if something goes wrong. And then taxes are still handled like a sole proprietorship by the individual. You do your individual tax return. The business is not taxed, just the individuals are. And this is the same for a limited partnership as well. So yeah. And then in a limited partnership, your limited partners do not have any management control. Typically, like technically, you could say, okay, sure, you have control, but then they still don't have responsibility. They don't have liability over things. Yeah, things get tricky. Again, partnerships, do it if you think it's good for you, but I really don't think that there are many situations where a partnership is ideal. And honestly, I think it's worse than a sole proprietorship. Again, not a lawyer, not a legal pro person, but that's just my 28 cents. So let's get into the big boys. We're going to skip LLCs for now because I want to save the best for last. But what are corporations? That little Inc. Apple Incorporated. Meta Inc. Like, what are these things? Corporations are the fancy ones. So you got two flavors. You have a C corporation and you have an S corporation. Let's start with the C corporation. So here's the fun thing with a corporation first off. It is its own entity now. You are now getting to the point where you can sue the business. And there's this corporate veil now, as it's called. You may have heard the term of piercing the corporate veil, which is when you kind of do some funky things to get around that little veil, and then you go after the individual. But typically, almost always, especially if it's done right, there's a corporate veil. And especially if you set up the business under an EIN, not your social security number, you're just not attached to it, which is pretty interesting. Or if you use someone else's social, which is probably illegal, but I guess in some circumstances, maybe okay. I don't know. But anyway, ownership. A corporation is owned by its shareholders. This means people who own stock of this company. So stock is issued by the SEC. And I don't know the best way to explain it, but it's basically stock is a measure of how much you control the company. And shareholders get dividends based on the amount of stock that they have. So when the company gets profits, the amount of money that people get paid is based on the amount of stock that they've got. So say if you bought stock on Robinhood and you got like maybe $8 worth of Apple stock, you might get a few cents every so often. Yeah. And when that adds up, when you start getting enough of that, you do need to actually report that to the IRS, whether or not you're a member of that business or not, whether or not you work for them or not, because you are a shareholder. And shareholders have to give out information to the IRS about the income they got from their shares or their personal tax returns. So again, main thing with the corporation being its own entity, the liability falls on the corporation, the business, not on any individuals. So that gives you a fun little safety net. But here's where it starts getting a little interesting. They actually get double taxed. That means when you get income as the company, that income gets taxed. When you pay your employees and your shareholders, they get taxed on the money that's already taxed. Now, there are other really nice benefits, tax breaks, when it comes to certain things that corporations can get. I won't go into them, but there are, of course, reasons why you want to be a corporation. If you're a bigger entity, it also gives you a lot more security. That lack of personal liability, you're not liable. The corporation is liable. And then for management's a little interesting. So you have a board of directors, which is elected by the shareholders. And then you have officers who run daily operations as well. So it's not just this one simple thing of like, hey, I'm the business owner, I can do all this. You got a whole structure now with a corporation that you have to worry about. So we touched on C corporations. Let's touch on S corporations, a funky little different type of corporation. And these are everywhere. Typically, these S corporations are going to be manufacturing like small little parts. Think of like, I don't know, a knob for a dishwasher unit. A big company that just sells those knobs. That could maybe be an S corporation. They're not like into big, crazy business stuffs. I don't even know what I'm saying, to be honest. Basically just trying to say S corporations exist and I don't really know everything about it, but basically here's a fun little, let's just, So there's your information. Yeah. But anyway, S corporations, they are limited to 100 shareholders, whereas you could technically just have as many shareholders as you can divide a cent, or less than that, honestly, because you can have shares less than a cent. I'm pretty sure. Who is it? Shoot, there's a company that just like from the stock market crash, their stock is now worth less than a cent. What? Who is that? I forgot. But anyway, the stock market crash right now. So, again, not tax advice, but great time to buy the dip. But again, yeah, 100 shareholders only. That's your cap. No more. Can have less. And they all have to be US residents or citizens. So that's tricky too. Shareholders of a regular corporation could be from anywhere. Shareholders, doesn't matter. But in an S corporation in the US, you have to have all your shareholders be US citizens or residents. Shareholders, again, have limited liability in this type of corporation. So you still have that corporate veil. You have that entity that is protecting you from lawsuits, from losses, whatnot. Your assets don't get preyed on. The company's assets get preyed on. So far, we're thinking, what is the benefit of an S corporation? Why would I want this? I have less shareholders. They all have to be Americans. I still get the corporate veil kind of thing, but why? You avoid double taxation. With an S corporation, the taxation passes through directly to the shareholders' tax returns. So the individual tax returns of the shareholders is where the business gets taxed because the business doesn't get taxed. So that is a big benefit. There are more, of course, but that is one of the major benefits is you avoid that double taxation with an S corporation. And then management is exactly the same as a C corporation. You've got your shareholders who elect your board of directors, and then you also have officers that run daily operations. Easy as. So now let's get into the one that is very popular that you've probably heard of before because of how popular it is. Limited Liability Company, LLC. You may see this all the time, tiny little companies popping up. One of your mates maybe has a business, and it's probably an LLC. Why is it an LLC? Because LLCs are awesome, and let me tell you why. Let's start with ownership. Ownership. You have members in an LLC. Now, there are, of course, still different types of LLC as there are different types of partnerships, but we're just going to say LLC is a blanket term here. You have what are called members. And these members, or one member, could be one, these members are the ones that are getting profit from this business. And unlike a sole proprietorship or a partnership, LLCs do have that funky little corporate veil. So in an LLC, you do not have liability when something goes wrong. Now, if you do something illegal, as with all these, I probably should have mentioned this. If you do something illegal, like fraud, the corporate veil gets burned away. You're probably going to jail, mate. Don't do a fraud. Doing a fraud is bad news. Don't do that. But say you default on a loan. You are not technically responsible. Your business, your LLC is responsible for paying that. Now, here's where it gets tricky. When you become part of an LLC, you need to give in an investment to that LLC. And this is basically acting as your So another fun thing here with the LLC is taxation. Taxation works like this. It works just like a partnership or a sole proprietorship. So you don't have the same liability as them, but you get the same tax structure as them. Passes straight through to you. The members are taxed individually and the company is not. Now, you do have the option to choose to be taxed as a C corporation or an S corporation if that seems beneficial in some way. But by default, it passes straight through to the members. And then management of it is just managed by the members. It's just the same as a partnership. You got members, you're good. So now that we have all this information laid out on what are the different business types, which one do you want? How do you actually apply? So, as stated before, to register your entity, as they're called, your entity will be registered with the Secretary of State in the state that you're in. And you can do this online. And also you can do this not on a website that'll make you pay $400 for it. I was on the buy page of one of them just yesterday and glad I didn't buy it because wow, can I save money? Even if I register my business in Florida, which I'll probably do it in Delaware because there are reasons for that. I think the $175 from Florida is way better than the $400 I would have paid. And wow, is it easy. And it is a yearly fee. But hopefully your business makes way more than $175 every year. So it really is that easy. You just go to the website for your state, for the Secretary of State. There should be a business, organization, company sort of section, and you can register to get your entity created. Now, after you have your company, you can do some fun stuff. Just before that, I'm going to say one quick thing. If you don't want to register your company or even as a sole proprietor, you can register a DBA, doing business as, or fictitious name as they're called. So that way, legally, whatever name you use, whether it be C28 or whoever, that name is associated with the business you're doing. So you can do that. I'm pretty sure it costs some money to do, but that can be done. But of course, if you have your business instead, use that. And then once you have that, go to the IRS's website and file for an EIN. And this EIN can be used in lieu of a social security number for so many situations. So like I mentioned before, you could set up with a bank with your EIN. And what good is that? You could start making positive credit with your business. Your business can have a credit score. Oh, wow, is that useful? Imagine that. Not only do you have a good credit score as an individual, but your business has a good credit score. Ooh, that looks good. And not only that, just like separating your finances is really important, especially if you legally have a separate entity that you are not, but you're running that entity. You do not want to mix up funds. The IRS, they no like that. That's the big bad. No, don't do. words. So definitely, once you get your LLC or whatever you're doing established, go get an EIN. Then with your EIN, go get a bank account. Open a probably free bank account. Maybe it costs $50 or something to open or whatever. I don't know. Have to put $100 in, whatever. If you're investing money into your company anyway, there's where the money can go. And separate your finances. Way easier to keep track of. And then you can use something like QuickBooks. Attach it to the card number. Wow, is that easy. And with Solopreneur from QuickBooks, not the sponsor of today's video, Solopreneur allows you to really easily manage things for stupid cheap. Like, I think it's $75 or less. Yeah. There's also a business owner option, which is like a fancier fee. I think it's like $120 or something a month or a year. Hopefully not a month. Hopefully a year. But alternatively, you could just keep track of stuff yourself. And if you're on top of it, it really shouldn't be too much of a hassle. But again, you have the money for it. Like I said previously, hire a tax person. Get a person, part of your team. Now you got a business entity. Use that business entity to hire them. And now they can run all the tax stuff for you. It's automated. But by a human, that is, of course. So it's not really automated. But you don't have to worry about it anymore, for the most part. Maybe even get them to file the taxes for you. That'd be cool. Now, just in case I missed anything, I actually recorded the entire lecture with the R1 device. And Ria here, the name of my rabbit, should be able to give us a fun little summary. We will see. Ria, do me a favor and look in the rabbit hole for 2 voice recordings today that were about business stuff. So everything from an EIN to filing taxes to the different business types. Should just be 2 of them. And then give me a condensed summary of everything, just to make sure I'm not missing anything, and use casual speech, just like, oh yeah, so like this kind of business does this, or you should get the EIN because it's like super awesome or whatever. And yeah, just give me a quick rundown.
Let me see what I can find in the rabbit hole.
Thank you.
I found 2 voice recordings in the rabbit hole today that cover business topics like EIN registration, filing taxes, and different business types. Here's a casual summary. 1. Register your business entity through sunbiz.org for state-level registration. 2. Obtain a local business tax receipt if operating from a physical location. 3. Use Form 8829 for business expenses if working from home. 4. Obtain an EIN for federal identification and financial transactions. 5. Separate personal social security number from business operations. These steps are essential for setting up and managing your business effectively.
Okay, Ria, that was pretty good. The issue was I did request like a casual explanation. You just kind of gave me a really formal bulleted list. Do you understand the difference here? You don't need to give me a different rendition of it. I just want you to acknowledge that, yeah?
I understand the distinction you're pointing out. I'll aim for a more casual tone in my responses in the future. Thank you for the feedback.
Could you give me an example of one of those casual responses to just, verify you can do it?
Sure thing. Here's a more casual response. Hey, so when you're starting a business, make sure to grab that EIN number. It's like your business's social security number, super handy for taxes and stuff. And don't forget to check out the different business types to see which suits you best. Hope that helps.
Okay, that was pretty good. Nice. Say goodbye to YouTube, Ria.
Goodbye, YouTube.
Okay. That's fun. But anyway, that pretty much does it with class today. We did have a lab of sorts. There was a little seminar on social media, whatnot. Good details in there. I'm not going to touch on them because they're not related to the class. And honestly, I could sum most of it up into you don't need a team. Stick to one social media platform. Get really good at it. And learning who your audience is and what they want is key to your success. I think that's most of it. Yeah. Oh, and companies want to sell your data. But we all know most of that anyway, so we're good. Anywho, C28 segment. So in the C28 segment, what do we got? Well, first off, you've seen some changes in how I do my video editing. Of course, we got this green screen here. So that's fun. We got this little thing to enjoy. Anyway, let's put that back. And that sort of thing, that's going to be a pain to edit probably, but maybe it looks cool, maybe it doesn't. I'll do some fun sound effects, maybe. I don't know. We'll see what happens with it. If it looks good, I'll do it. I didn't run a test. I'm just kind of doing this in hopes that it works. I don't even know if my my hand is in the right place when I do that. Like maybe I'm just way off. In fact, I probably am, because to be in the center, I should have pointed like here. But I did not. So we'll find a way to make it work anyway. Yeah. But anyway, point is, overall, know the business type you want. Once you got the business, get an EIN. So that way you can roll over to your bank and go, oh, hello, banking person. Hi, hello. Hey, can I please get a bank account? But it won't be me. So that way, if I, screw up and default on a loan, I don't get, messed up and my stuff stolen. Hello, valued customer. Yes, here is your bank account using an EIN. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, goodbye. Yay. I haven't got the foggiest what to say now. I mean, that could just be it. We could just say, go to the outro. Except I didn't say anything about like C28, did I? Like, not really a whole lot. No. I mentioned the new editing, but well, again, things will happen when they happen. I'm not gonna make promises because I don't want give myself too much stuff to worry about, but I am working on projects. Be aware of that. Things are happening. They'll happen when they happen. Yeah. If you enjoyed today's video, you can subscribe. And YouTube will happily give you more content like this from myself and other creators, which is very fun. And if you super enjoyed it, you can become a control voltage. That's right. You can do this. Look at this. Watch. We're going to use the green screen. You ready? Oh, wow. So you scroll on the YouTube channel. Check that out. See? And then after you hit subscribe, you hit join. Ooh, that's a fun little button, isn't it? So that little join button it lets you become a control voltage. And let's go back to where we were before. So being a control voltage gives you some fun little perks. You'll get early access to videos like this one. You'll get behind the scenes content. You will get access to the Discord server and some more fun stuff down the line. Control voltages, you are greatly appreciated, especially the one I've got right now. Just rocking the one, Luke Roberts. Thank you for your contributions to this channel. It is greatly appreciated. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave those questions or comments in the comment section below, and I will get back to them. Post them in the space if they're super cool or interesting, or I think that people should see them, whatnot, and then I'll respond to them. Yes, I will. So, I hope you all take care of yourselves. God be with you, and goodbye, YouTube. Oh, I'm in the void again. Oh, actually, that was quite painful last time when we did the black hole thing. So I think it's kind of funny how I completely forgot to mention the fact that this is the 100th video log. So I suppose I'll just mention it now in post-production, but yay.